Hello, future professionals. Welcome to day 9 of our top 100 coding question analysis. Today, we are challenged with the question to sort a list of numbers in ascending order using bubble sort. But what does bubble sort mean? How does it work? Bubble sort gets its name because it bubbles up the largest element of the list to the last index in general, and vice versa if we tend to create a sorted list in descending order. The bubble sort is the simplest sorting algorithm that tends to swap adjacent elements if they are in wrong order. That is, if the element in the higher index is less than the element present in the lower index, we swap the elements of both indices. After every pass, the largest element of the unsorted array is pushed to its correct position. That is, the largest element to the last position, the second largest element to the second last position, and so on. This process is repeated until we get sorted list in ascending order. We shall now practice using pen and paper to get a complete understanding of the concept, and let's try to decode the logic from the solved problem. We will try solving the problem using bubble sort. Do not worry about the complexity of the problem, rather try to understand the pattern that is used by the algorithm to solve the problem. We have been given a list of length 5 with the elements in the order 5, 3, 6, 4, 1. Right? We all know that the first index is 0, second index is 1, third index is 2, fourth index is 3, fifth index is 4. Right? Now the algorithm starts by comparing the first two elements, that is 5 and 3. If the element in the lower index is greater than the element in the higher index, then we swap the numbers. This is in technical terms. For general understanding, in the comparison operation, if the first element is greater than the second element, then we swap the numbers, that is 3 and 5. Remaining numbers stay in the same position. Now let's compare second and the third element. Remaining elements will stay in the same position. Now, is the first element greater than the second element? No. So we do not swap. They remain in the same position. Now we compare third and the fourth element. Is the first element greater than the second element? Yes. So we need to swap. 3, 5, 4, 6, 1. Now we'll compare the last two elements, that is 6 and 1. Is the first element greater than the second element? Yes. Then we need to swap. 3, 5, 4, 1, 6. Now we have made sure that the largest among these numbers is put to the last position, that is its correct position. This we call it as first pass. Right? Let's move on to second pass. Here, the input of the first pass is the output of the previous pass, that is 3, 5, 4, 1, 6. Right? We'll repeat the same process, that is comparing the first two element. Is the first element greater than the second element? No. So they remain same. We compare second and the third element. Is the first element greater than the second element? Yes. So we have to swap. Now we'll compare third and the fourth element. Is the first element greater than the second element? Yes. So we need to swap. Now we have ensured that the second largest element is put in second last position. Now we shall move on to third pass. It gets its input from the output of the previous pass, that is 3, 4, 1, 5, 6. We'll repeat the same process. We'll compare first and the second element, that is 3 greater than 4? No. We keep the elements in their same position. Now we'll compare second and the third element. Is 4 greater than 1? Yes. Then we'll swap. In the third pass, we have ensured the third largest element is put third from the last position, right? Now we move on to the last pass, that is the fourth pass. Fourth pass where we get the input from the output of the last pass, that is 3, 1, 4, 5, 6. Here we'll repeat the same process. We'll compare the first two elements, that is 3 and 1. Is 3 greater than 1? Yes. So we swap. And now we see that the array is sorted. So the result is that a sorted array or list in ascending order. We get 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. We shall recap on the process. That is, we compare starting from the first index. We compare two elements. If the first element is greater than the second element, then we swap the elements. Then we continue this comparison starting from the next index, that is 1, and we compare the second and third element. In the next step, we compare third and the fourth element. The next step, we compare fourth and the fifth element. In the second pass, the same happens, but we do not compare the last element with the previous element because we know that the last element is already sorted and is in its correct position, right? Now in the third pass, we do not compare the last two elements because we know that they are already sorted. Instead, we compare only twice, that is, we compare the first and the second element and the second and the third element, and so on. In the fourth pass, we compare only the first and the second element, and when we compare and we swap, we get the resultant, that is sorted list in ascending order, right? Now let's derive conclusions out of the solved example so that we could devise a logic. The first conclusion is that length of given list is, we consider it as n, it is of length 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The length of the list is 5. Second, how many, the number of passes it took to solve this question was 1, 2, 3, and 4. Number of passes is 4. The third conclusion is that maximum number of comparisons that was performed in any pass was 4, that is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the maximum number of passes, that is, we had compared 4 times. In the second pass, we compare 1, 2, 3 times. The third pass, we compare 2 times. In the fourth pass, we compare 1 time. Right? So the maximum number of comparisons performed in any pass was 4. The fourth conclusion is that minimum number of comparisons made in any step was 1. Right? Let's devise a logic by taking into consideration of these conclusions. So we require how many passes, that is, passes are nothing but the number of times that we have to repeat the process to get the resultant, right? So the first for loop should run 4 times, right? And the second for loop will run for maximum 4 times and minimum 1 time. And what do we do in this comparison? We compare, that is, we use if statement. We compare whether previous element is greater than a of next element, which I can refer to as previous plus 1, because if previous is 0, previous plus 1 gives me 1. So I effectively compare the index 0 with index 1. So if the index 0 is greater than index 1, then we swap the elements, right? Now that we have got the basic understanding of the logic, we shall start coding. Let's start the program by defining a function to get the user's input. I name the function getUserInput. Next, we shall initialize a variable n to store the value of the length of the list that is given by the user. Next, we shall initialize the variable numbers to an empty list. Let's create a for loop to store the numbers in the list in the order that is inputted by the user. Next, we shall return the numbers list. Next, we shall define a function to sort the list. I name the function bubble sort. It gets the parameter number list. Now, let's initialize the variable length to the length of the numbers list. Now let's code the logic. Here the first loop ensures the number of passes, the second loop ensures the minimum and maximum range of comparisons, and the third if condition checks whether the first number is greater than the next number. If the condition satisfies, then we swap the numbers. We shall return the number list. Next, we shall define a function to print the list. It gets the parameter as number list. Let's initialize a variable length to the length of the number list. Next, we shall create a for loop in the range of the length so that we print all the elements that are present in the list. For much clarity, we shall print a statement of sorted list. Now that we have defined all our required functions, it's time that we call those functions. Let me call the function getUserInput and store the return value in numList. Let's now call bubble sort and pass the parameter as numList and store the return value in sorted list. Let's now call the print list function and pass sorted list as the argument. Now let's check for any errors or warning signals. There is no warning signal, so let's run the program. It is asking me the length of the list. Let me enter 5. The number is 5, 3, 6, 4, 1. And now we get the sorted list as 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we have successfully completed our program. I hope you would have got the best out of this video. I recommend you subscribing our channel to get more such interesting videos.